your index finger and your middle finger. You put them right between your eyebrows. These are actually, that's like a meridian point. That's where the Chinese acupressure comes in. We all have like different meridian points all through your body. Yeah. And two of them are right between the eyes. So yeah, your index finger and forefinger right between the eyes. You would take your thumb and plug off your right nostril. And then you breathe in through the left for like 3 to 4 seconds. And then just hold it for a second. Pitch the nose off. So you take your ring finger and close off the other side. So your nose is totally plugged. Hold, and then release your thumb and you exhale out the right.
Feel better already, Brian. Breathing. Welcome, adapters, to the Change 30 podcast number 2, The Deuce. We're going to be talking about breathing. Turns out it is kind of important. As many of you probably are aware, you can go about 3 days without water. You can go about, I think the longest human fast was like 260 days, but I think most humans can probably go 60 days without eating. But breathing, turns out that, you can hold your breath for maybe a minute and then you're dead. So turns out for most people, right? Maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes. So for most people, it's not that long. So it turns out it's important. Yet, we focus so much on diet. We focus so much on hydration as human beings now. There's so much awareness around it. There is very little to no awareness, practice, or anything as it relates to breathing. Yet many would argue it all starts with breath. So Brian, hit us up with a little breathing science and kind of let the listeners understand the importance of breathing and and why we should be focusing on it.
Yeah, I reviewed my notes and it was breathe in and then let it out. So that's it, right? That's all there is to it.
Pretty simple. All right, good show. Good show.
Yeah, exactly. Breathe in and breathe out. Like it seems that simple. It's like fasting. There's all this talk about fasting. Like it could be a 1-page book, right? Don't eat. Mm-hmm. So, right. You can really simplify these things, but there's rationale behind it all. And that's what we're trying to explore. So I am by no means a breathing expert, Derek, other than the fact that I've been doing it my whole life. But I was joking with my wife about that. Like, I'm going to get on a podcast. I'm going to talk about breathing, So yep. I think, the reason that we discussed doing this as a challenge is it's also a gateway into meditation. I feel like, you and I both discussed how we struggle mightily with meditation on account of just having distracted minds. Mm-hmm. And so I think if we can work on the breath and focus on the breath, that might be a useful progression into meditation as well. So bottom line is it really comes down to like the purpose of breathing is to oxygenate your blood. And then your blood carries that oxygen to literally every cell and tissue and organ in your body to help them perform. They need it. So like I always thought of when I was a kid, like you hold your breath, take a big deep breath in, and you can hold that. In my mind, I was like, until that oxygen leaves, then you gotta breathe again. Like I thought it was all about just having air in your lungs. I didn't give any consideration to like what was happening in your body. I didn't connect with the fact that it's exchanging oxygen and CO2. Like oxygen's going into the blood, CO2 is coming out, and then it's carrying it to your organ. So really, when you hold your breath for as long as you can, what makes you have to take a breath is a lack of oxygen to your brain. So that's nothing to do with the lungs. It's like you can do like the Wim Hof method of breathing is a really intense way of like, it's big, deep, powerful breaths in and short exhales. You're really like super saturating the blood with oxygen. And you can hold, I've done it. You can hold your breath at the end of an exhale. Like, so all the air is out of your lungs and you can still I can go about 60 seconds without having to take another breath in. There's no air in my lungs whatsoever, but there's oxygen in my blood. So that's what it's all about. And I think in today's hectic world that we live in, we're kind of high stress, high strung as a society. We tend to take more shallow breaths. So it's shallow breathing all day long. We don't focus on it. We don't think about it. We got 1,000 other things that we got to worry about. So it's kind of a lack of oxygen in your blood. But you can train it like anything else. You can train yourself to be a better breather. Take deeper inhales and longer pronounced exhales just naturally without even thinking about it if you practice. It's the theory of like neuroplasticity. It's the same idea. You're training neural pathways to fire a certain way. And staying chronically stressed like we are, that's a neural pathway as well. So we're constantly triggering that stress response. We're going to try and kind of reverse some of that, de-stress, and we're going to use breath as that tool to do it. That's what I hope to gain from it anyway. So
yeah, there's this whole kind of notion of parasympathetic and sympathetic
yes.
Systems that we have in our body, right? And breathing is innately it's a parasympathetic autonomic nervous system. Mm-hmm. It just happens, just like your heart beating and all that stuff. But you're right, stress and fight or flight and caffeine and lack of sleep and all those things have us, having these shallower breaths. I've actually noticed that when I'm more stressed, I'm or not rested, I have a shallower breath. And I just caught this like over the last couple of months, which, sort of precipitated us, having this be a challenge for us. But when you stop for a minute, you take a few deep breaths, it's amazing how different you can feel, and you can sort of switch that autonomic switch to being more in I guess it'd be a sympathetic state, right?
The stress state is sympathetic. Yeah. Sympathetic is when you're stressed, and then you take a few deep breaths and you can help transfer over to more of a parasympathetic tone. Parasympathetic is like a parachute, slows things down. That's how I try to remember it. But
that's a great analogy. I won't screw that up on the next
one.
I'm
pretty smart.
Yes, you are. So that said, we Brian and I did some research to try to look at different breathing methods. There's a ton of them out there. You mentioned one already, Wim Hof. Wim Hof is definitely more of an aggressive, gets you in more of a fight or flight type of sense of being, and it has some benefits to it. But we wanted to look for something that was going to calm us down, was going to relax us. So you see a lot of the armed forces use this box breathing technique, which is pretty simple. If you look at a box, for those watching, I'm making a box with my fingers in the air. You breathe in for 4 to 5 seconds through the nose. Everything's through the nose. Yep. You hold that breath for 4 to 5 seconds. Then you exhale for 4 to 5 seconds. Then you hold at the bottom with no oxygen in your lungs for 4 to 5 seconds. Then you repeat. So it's a box. You got 4 cycles. Ideally, you want to be taking about 3 breaths, 3 full cycles or boxes in a minute. We decided to do this box breathing technique based off the research that we did, because we felt that would get us in that sort of Zen state that we're always looking for, and calming down. So that's our hopes, that's our approach. And then naturally, we're going to look at the data and the analytics that we get from my watch. And Brian, your Aura ring. There it is.
My wedding ring is it's an intelligent wedding ring.
That's my ring doesn't do that. So I have to use
nice looking though.
This clunky thing. Yeah.
I can't wear watches. They bother me I can't wear one to bed. So the ring's nice.
I can't either. And in fact, this watch actually has that little light that, it shoots that infrared light that shoots through your skin to the capillaries. It's this green light to be able to read your heart rate, and it wakes you up in the middle of the night. You're like, oh. So
bright light. Yeah. For those that aren't watching on TV, it looks like Derek has a clock on his wrist. That's a big watch.
It's a big watch. It's actually a triathlon watch.
I got that on my wall.
Yeah, it's like Flavor Flav's clock you wear around his neck. It's on my wrist. Right. Yeah, it's a big watch. It's actually meant for swim, bike, run, triathlon stuff. So I used it for that as well. But it's permanently attached to my wrist for the next 30 days as we look at the stats.
Yes, sir.
So Brian, real quick, what are you hoping to gain from this personally? What's your hope or your outcome?
So definitely I'd like to see my breath rate per minute decrease. I average at about between 13 and 14 breaths per minute at sleep. So I think they say under 12 would be a sign of good health. So I'm close. So I'd love to get that under 12. So if you can get single digits, that's a good status. And then I think that's it. Like getting to that mark would be indicative of proper blood oxygen saturation, I would think. And so then I feel like I'm not going to necessarily feel the difference, maybe, but I know I can have confidence my organs are getting what they need, and hopefully it creates better health.
Awesome.
Stress relief, main thing too.
I'm there with you as well. For me, it's about regulation of self. So this first week, I plan on trying it, at different states, like right after I work out. If I'm in a stressful situation, maybe trying to use it to go to bed, maybe to wake up. I want to see when applied in different situations, did I notice some sort of an impact? And then being able to use it as a tool in life to be able to stimulate sleep, stimulate awakeness, come down from workout, whatever. So that's the plan.
So, sorry to interrupt you there, but I don't think we detailed it out. So what we're going to do is 20 minutes of focused box breathing. And then, like you said, we're going to also maybe use it in shorter stretches, more targeted. So like you said, after a workout, you can just do 3 minutes of box breathing, and that helps you switch over from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic state, which for recovery purposes and performance purposes, like it causes an increase in testosterone, growth hormone. So yeah, we can use it as a tool after a workout and stressful situations. A few deep breaths. I mean, you've always heard that, like take a deep breath. You say it to your kids, like take a breath. We're going to actually do that, but in an adult setting.
Yeah, I'm pumped about it. And with that said, I say let's roll into week one. Let's do it. Let's breathe.
Happy breathing. Change 30 breathing podcast week 2. What is up, Derek?
What is up, brother? How you breathing?
Breathing good. Haven't passed out yet, so that's pleasing.
Always
it's going good. Yeah.
All right. So tell me about your week 2. How you feeling? What are you noticing? Improvements? What do you got?
So improvements. I actually, you know how we're measuring our breath rate with our different tools here that we have, and I eclipsed, or I should say, went below the 13 breaths per minute, which is pretty cool. I got down to like 12.5, 12.6. And I was averaging about 13.6, 13.8. So that's pretty cool. It's showing signs of improvement. I haven't hit that number before. And so I'm happy about that. And then just in general, it's a good tool. Like it does calm you down. If you're starting to feel some anxiety or some angst about something, you can literally just take, 3 rounds of box breathing, and it just calms you down. Like you just stop freaking out. So I'm enjoying it. The 20-minute sessions they're getting easier, but it requires patience. You're just kind of feeling like, what am I doing here for 20? I could be doing all these other things, but actually counting it out takes your mind off your to-do list a little bit. So how about you? You kind of feeling similarly or anything different?
Yeah. So the big thing I noticed this week, last week, I was trying it in different settings. Like I said before, I was trying it, watching TV in the car, which is a bad idea. And then after a workout in bed. And this week was incredibly busy. So I found myself one night, I was like, shoot, I forgot to do this. Right. And I was sitting there watching something on Netflix with my wife. It was late at night. And I was like, I just do it now. Right.
Yeah.
So I started doing that breathing and I've been struggling with sleeping for like a week. Right. And I was really starting to wear on me. And I slept really well that night. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Finally time to sleep good. Right. So then the next day, again, got super busy, whatever. And I found myself again on the couch. We finally finished work at like 8:30, 9 o'clock. I was like, let's just chill and vegetate for like 30 minutes. And I was like, oh, man, I forgot to do the breathing again. So I did it again. And I slept amazing that night. And I was like, wow, 2 in a row. I was like, well, wait a second. I was like, maybe it's the box breathing. So the next night, which was last night, I did it again, but this time I did it intentionally. Right. And I slept phenomenally, and my bed and my watch shows all the statistics. And what I saw was a reduction in heart rate, my resting heart rate by 7 beats per minute, a reduction in breath rate by 1, right? So it went down.
That's what I saw. Yeah.
Yeah. By 1, which is pretty remarkable. And then an increase in heart rate variability, which is a good thing. That's what you want, right? For those listening, you want to increase that. So 100%. All the statistics changed, and graphically it was linear, like you could see it. And I was impressed. So listen, I'm only 3 days in, so I have a big series here, but I'm going to continue to do it at night because you're hyped up, you're jacked up, you're working your tail off throughout the day. And then I'm like, you know what? I need to flip the switch. When I'm doing it, I feel relaxed, but it's not like it's not like I feel remarkably different. I feel relaxed, right?
Yeah.
But the impact when I go to bed, it's like it's
Profound.
so far it's been pretty profound. And if this is like the golden ticket I've been missing my entire life, like I'm box breathing, I'm a Netflix box breather for life.
So I got something to add, and then I got a question for you. Let me ask the question first. So on these last few nights, you mentioned your heart rate variability increased as well, which is a measure of recovery. So like how prepared you are for the upcoming day. If you got a low HRV compared to baseline, it's basically telling you take it easy today. Did you, in these last few days, did you have any challenging workouts where you normally would maybe be a little run down the following day and this helped, or were you kind of a low key on the workout side?
Actually, the workouts have been getting progressively better over these last few weeks, right? So yeah, yesterday, that day I did legs, probably the hardest I've done in a long time. So
Yeah.
So I really pushed it hard on legs the day before. I forget what I did, but it definitely worked out all 3 days, and they're all three good aggressive pushes that would require some recovery. Now I've done that before in the past recently and slept like shit that night. So it was, and then naturally it's affected the next day, and it really just affects your entire life. When you don't sleep, I mean, sleep is mint. So I definitely did more aggressive workouts. I don't know if it was that or if it was the breathing. We're going to find out. I'm going to keep doing that.
Well, yeah,
Netflix box breathing.
Yeah, Netflix box breathing is the way to go. But I think that definitely that makes sense. If you had some aggressive workouts that normally would run you down, and the next day all your metrics would tell you to take it easy. If you're doing this box breathing, that is a gateway into a better night's sleep, which is where all the restoration and repair happens. Now you wake up and you're still ready to get after it again. Like that's huge. That's a big game changer if you can keep pushing and restoring while at the same time. You don't have to take as much rest time. That's pretty cool. So I was listening to a podcast with I don't know if you know Dr. Mark Hyman. He's pretty big in the functional space, but he had on this other doctor, Louis Ignarro. He founded nitric oxide. So like he won the Nobel Prize for his research on nitric oxide. And nitric oxide, if anyone's familiar, is like it's used in some supplements, like some pre-workout supplements, like NO Explode, which is I don't recommend. your heart will beat out of your chest, but there's natural ways to boost nitric oxide. But turns out, so nitric oxide's got all these benefits, right? So I'm just going to read them. I wrote them down real quick. So it dilates your blood vessels, so it helps lower blood pressure. Actually, that's what Viagra was originally created to be a blood pressure reduction drug. And then they found out this other side effect that was pleasing for some. So, and it's about nitric oxide. That's the main, the drug in Viagra. So anyway, dilates blood vessels. It improves blood flow to organs, and where blood goes, health goes. So that's important. It prevents clotting and blockage in arteries. It's anti-inflammatory. It's antioxidant. It promotes, you have 10 times more nitric oxide in your brain than any other organ. And so it promotes learning, memory, info recall. It obviously regulates erectile dysfunction via Viagra. Protects your skin from the sun, and it even improves digestion by helping regulate digestive enzymes and hormones. So it's got like all these things that it does. And the reason I'm bringing this up, and I'll tie it in now, is a ton of nitric oxide is actually produced in your nasal cavity. So when you breathe in through the nose, you're bringing nitric oxide into the lungs, and that makes sense. It's also a very strong antimicrobial. So you think about your lungs are exposed to the outside air, exposed to pathogens and everything, right? And viruses. So why wouldn't Mother Nature give you this like built-in protective mechanism? And it's NO. So when you breathe, just like when you eat stuff that's contaminated, your stomach acid sanitizes that. It neutralizes all the pathogens and everything. So same thing when you breathe in. If you breathe in through your nose, you're taking nitric oxide into it. It opens up the airways because it has that impact on smooth muscle. It widens the airways. It dilates pulmonary arteries, so you get more blood flow in the lungs, better oxygen exchange, and it neutralizes pathogens, bacteria, and a lot of viruses. They're actually studying it. They studied it for a early treatment for COVID, believe it or not, because of its effects on viruses in the lungs. And COVID is a lung. It affects the lungs pretty badly. So yeah, it's just very, very interesting. So what we're doing, breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. NO might be a key factor in that. I thought that was really kind of crazy.
No, that's a great share, dude, because I mean, anything you listen to, you look into breath work, it's nose, right? So, and I'm sure that's some of the evidence that supports that. And so well, I think I need another episode. Maybe we'll drop some more, or next week we'll do more research, drop a little bit more science on that. But I think that's a great ad. It was a great week for me. I'm breathing good. Same. My metrics are dropping. I'm pumped for week 3. So let's try some alternate nostril breathing coming up. Okay.
Even like 10 minutes. So it's at like 5 minutes, one left nostril, 5 minutes, right nostril, and then 10 minutes of just normal.
So I hold it,
like literally plug it.
Would I put it up my nose?
You could plug it.
Whatever works.
That's your call, man. Yeah.
It's all preference. Yeah.
Sure.
Awesome. All right. We're going to do some alternate nostril breathing in addition to the 20 minutes of box that we're doing right now, and see what type of impact it makes in week 3. Let's do it.
Let's go.
Let's breathe. All right, Brian, we've arrived here at week 4, the end of week 4 with our box breathing 30-day challenge. How you feeling, brother? That beer's epic. Dude, it's looking good, buddy.
I'm feeling good. I'm a mix of feeling fantastic and exhausted at the same time, but it's largely due to one factor. We brought a baby girl into the world.
Big
about a week and a half
to
ago.
Brian.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. So
that is awesome.
Very exciting, but definitely in a state of slight sleep depravation.
And we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about sleep. And obviously, you've got different factors that are keeping you awake now and preventing you from shaving that epic beard you're rocking right now, by the way. Well done.
I shaved it yesterday.
Did you? Okay.
That's my 5 o'clock shadow.
That's your. This is true. Brian is Italian, so
that's right.
Just grow beard.
No,
really
this has actually been about 3 months in the making, to be honest.
Wow, nice work.
Yeah,
I'd just say keep it going. We'll do a beard challenge next.
There you go.
Beard challenge. Yeah.
I got a good head start on you.
Yeah, I was just saying I got some work to do, dude.
Yeah.
You'd have to shave that shit.
For sure.
All right. So yes, big congrats to Mr. Brian here with bringing in. We will share with us with some deets here. What do you got? A baby girl?
Sure. So baby girl born on September 22nd. She's 6 pounds 5 ounces, 18 inches long, head of hair. Beautiful. She's doing great. Mom's doing great. We have a 2-year-old at home as well. So that was interesting having him. He had to adapt to baby sister coming home.
He's like, what the hell is this?
Yeah. Gino's a bit of a mama's boy. The second day he asked Lindsay, my wife, he asked her to put her away. Like, put her away now. It's kind of funny.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. He's adjusted. He's doing
awesome. Congratulations, man.
Yeah, thank you. Very excited.
I would imagine over these last couple of weeks, it's been stressful. Maybe box breathing has been not only a challenge to try to fit into the 30 days challenge that we're doing, but also maybe it was a useful tool or asset during some of your recent adventures.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I didn't find it difficult to work in because of everything I went through. In fact, I was grateful that we were doing it, that this was our challenge during this time, because breath work is something that you can do anytime, anywhere. You don't need equipment. You can do it sitting down, lying down, standing up, doesn't matter. So I absolutely leaned on it during Lindsay's pregnancy, during the labor, afterwards, even. So like, I think if it wasn't for this box breathing, I would have a hard time even being on this podcast right now and speaking coherently at all. Because sleep deprivation does come with having an infant and a 2-year-old at home. They don't sleep. And when they're not sleeping, you're not sleeping. So, but what you can do, and what I did do, was I can still remain relaxed by tapping into the breath. And so I can still switch from that sympathetic high stress state to the parasympathetic rest and digest state, and at least calm my mind and physiologically kind of blunt that stress effect. And so I can still kind of somewhat remain rested mentally, not optimally, but definitely better than if I wasn't doing it at all. So I'm incredibly grateful for this. This has been an awesome challenge for me, and I'm excited to kind of share our results and some strategies with our listeners here, because I just think this is such a useful tool, and I know you feel very similarly. So hit me, talk to me, dude. Tell me about it.
It was life changing. I would be, understating if I didn't say anything other than it was life changing. So I've been so pumped about this. I'm so pumped to shoot this last part of the episode so we can get this episode out and to the world, because I went into it, having expectations of, maybe it would help with some stress relief, which absolutely did, but I didn't expect it to have the profound impact on my life that it did. So what was that? Honestly, one thing that I've struggled with for the majority of my life is sleep. I think a lot of people struggle with this. I think a lot of people have a hard time with this, whether it's, over caffeination, stress, just not the ability to, for me, it's always been the ability to, I'm running in eighth gear all day, and then to downshift to be able to relax the mind and the body. I haven't been able to figure out how to do that. Try different things, and just nothing really worked. So it was by accident that I did box breathing, as we discussed in these last few weeks there, where I just did it at night while I was trying to use television for a half hour, an hour to relax. It never worked, right? In fact, it's the blue light and all that other shit, they probably made it worse. But at least I could just let my mind go, right? And hopefully focus on something else, and then maybe I'd relax. So I did the box breathing. Once I realized it was working, I made it a religion. And for these last few weeks of this challenge, that's what I've done. And I've never slept so good consistently in my life. My statistics on my between my watch and my bed that share the statistics have shown a sharp reduction in heart rate at night, a sharp reduction in breathe rate, and a sharp increase in heart rate variability. So all the statistics and metrics that we want to see have been greatly improved. I mean, I'm talking like 5 beats per minute.
That's amazing.
Sleep. HRV's gone up by like 20%, 25% consistently. Wow. I'm sleeping, not only am I falling asleep, which I struggle with, but I'm staying asleep. And I just feel this weight and this relaxation upon me. It's not like when I'm sitting there doing the breathing, it's just like I'm ready to fall asleep. I'll do it 20, 30 minutes and even an hour before I go to bed. And then if I feel like that parasympathetic sympathetic switch that we've talked about, and I know you're going to chat about it, it's been flipped, right? And in the right direction. And when I lay down, I'm in this like Zen, like namaste state, right? And I'm chill, man. So for me, it's helped me during the day through stressful situations. I've tapped into it. It's been very useful. I feel like something getting me jazzed out, I'll use it. But at night, I'm sleeping, and as a result of that, I am more productive. My fitness is increased. My health is improved. I mean, just everything has. If you're sleeping, man, you're just killing the game. So
absolutely.
Nobody knows that more than you right now. Deprivation, you're at the other end of that spectrum. So not to be bragging, but I'm sleeping really good right now. Where you have
thanks a lot.
Good talking. Yeah. so that for me, man, that's it. Like this box breathing, if anything, for those who are listening, do it for 30 straight days, because it takes a while to create that pattern and to get your body used to it. But for me, it's sleep. So I don't know about you, Brian.
Yeah. Were you sticking to 20 minutes, roughly 20 minutes, within an hour of bedtime?
I was. Yeah. I was sticking to 20 minutes, like to the minute. And I'm curious to see if I even need that long, I'll try different things and see if that's even necessary, because 20 minutes is a good bit of time. But once you get good at it, when you get in the box breathing mode, it's almost like, it's like putting your sneakers on to go for a jog. Like you just after you do it a while, it's not a big deal, so.
Yeah, I think it's a space where you do kind of have to live within it and modify and understand that it's bio-individual, even like breathing, what works for one may not work as well for another. So you just find what works for you. And there's different exercises that you can do. Box breathing is just one of many breathing exercises you can partake in. So that's all, dude. I'm so happy to hear what a profound effect it's had on your sleep and stress mitigation. Those are two factors in life that are just grossly underestimated when it comes to our health, our overall health in general, and what can create a disease state when you're sleep deprived and you're chronically stressed. Your body is not happy. You're having some physiological effects that are very detrimental. It basically, it knocks you out of homeostasis. Like your body works really hard to maintain certain set points of any number of things: blood pressure, blood pH, body temperature, blood glucose levels. Like your body's constantly fighting to stay within these certain ranges. And when you're sleep deprived and chronically stressed, that has a negative impact on every health consequence that, every system in your body is negatively impacted by that, from digestion to blood sugar regulation, mineral imbalances and deficiencies, just you name it. And in modern Western civilized, industrialized lifestyle that we live right now, we are chronically stressed. There's been milestones along the way over the last, few hundred years that have created this situation where we're so far removed, the way we live now, from physiologically the way we were designed to live, in pre-industrial revolution days and even pre-agricultural revolution days. Like we were more in unison with our universe, with nature, with our bodies. So I think the breath it's a key. It's a door that can open, and you can walk through it and tap back into that ancestral living just through the breath. So I don't know, like when you think of stress, it's obviously usually a negative thought. You think, okay, stress is it's a problem. It's an issue, but it's not, it's inevitable. Where you can't eliminate stress from your life. It's going to happen. So it's more important to manage it. Some stress is good. Your body is designed to have a stress response. In an acute situation, you're supposed to be able to move in and out of stressful situations and be able to flip that switch, like you said, between the sympathetic and parasympathetic state. It's when we remain in that sympathetic state and we remain stressed, we never come back down from it. That's where we start to have issues. And most everyone's familiar with that phrase I used before, homeostasis. What they might be less familiar with is another state called allostasis. And allostasis is basically like an adaptation where those set points that your body's trying to remain within, those healthy ranges, if you're chronically stressed and you can never get back down to them, your body has to kind of adapt and live within a higher or lower range. And so your body makes modifications temporarily because your body's there for you to survive. So it's trying to keep you alive. And you can do that for so long. You might be able to last longer in a chronically stressed state than someone else. Your body can handle it, maybe. And then someone else, they don't last so long. They can become diabetic. It can cause insulin resistance. So many things that it can do. It can cause cardiovascular disease. So that stress response, that cascade of hormones and neurotransmitters that are released and cortisol that's released that keep everything in that fight or flight, like ready to go type of state, it's not where you want to remain. So I'm rambling a little bit, but using that breath work will tie us back in and flip that switch. And so there's a few different ways to do it that I found, and I've read up a lot about this too recently because it was so impactful. I'm like, wow, this is crazy how well this is working. So I think it's important to maybe share with everybody some techniques, how they can apply this, because you don't need a lot of time. It's free. You don't need equipment. You can just jump right into this. So box breathing, obviously we've discussed, it's the 4, 4, 4, 4. So 4 seconds in, 4 second hold, 4 seconds out, 4 seconds hold. That I think is great to increase just overall breathing efficiency when you do it. Like you're doing it 20 minutes at a time, you can do that. You can do it 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes at night, or longer. And that's going to help improve your blood oxygen levels. It's going to reduce shallow breathing. That's another thing. When you're in a stress state, you tend to breathe more shallow. And so you can get a buildup of CO2, which creates an acidic state in your blood and in your tissues. So that's why these alkaline diets are so popular these days. But yeah, so you can get rid of the CO2, improve the waste removal there. And that just improves the health of every cell in your body. So that's great. Help improve oxygen levels and waste removal. And then in terms of like improving sleep, you can use it to improve sleep. You can use a 4-7-8. So 4 seconds in, hold for 7 seconds, exhale for 8 seconds, and do that maybe 5 times. Just do it for a few minutes before you go to sleep. That's enough to flip that switch and take you out of that sympathetic state into a rest and digest. Another good one before sleep is something more simple. So you just want to do what works for you, what feels comfortable. You don't want the breath to cause stress. You want it to relieve stress. So do what feels good. So you can do like an inhale for 6 or 7 seconds and an immediate exhale for a little bit longer, 8 or 9 seconds. So breathe in for 7, out for 9. And when you breathe out, through pursed lips, like you're blowing out a candle. That'll help exhale more slowly. And that's another thing that I recommend doing also highly before you eat. If you're about to take in a big meal, again, it's called rest and digest, right? So we want to be in the parasympathetic state when we're eating so we can digest our food properly. Every system in your body that is involved in digestion works within the parasympathetic state. So if you're eating in a stressed out state, you could be like stress is it's the missing piece. Like if you've got a great protocol going on, right? Like you're eating the right foods, you're moving correctly and exercising right, but maybe things still you're not getting the results you desire. Stress could be that ticket, because if you're eating all the right foods that are highly nutrient dense, but you're eating in a stress state, your body is not digesting that food. It's not breaking it down. So those minerals and nutrients aren't getting absorbed properly that your body needs, all because you're stressed when you do it. So it's so important to flip that switch and just sit down when you eat, take 3 to 5 rounds of that, 7 seconds in, 9 seconds out, just 3 to 5 good deep full breaths in and full exhales, and then go ahead and eat your food and chew your food a little bit longer than you normally would. Don't do one chew and send it down. Chew it up pretty good. And that's where digestion starts, is right in the mouth. So that's those would be, I think, the low hanging fruits. One other one, if I got time to discuss.
Of course, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
All right, cool. So we talked about it at one point, I think, in one of the previous recordings, where we were talking about alternate nostril breathing, right? So I learned a little bit more about this. When we originally discussed it, we were talking about how to access left brain, right brain thinking. Well, as it turns out, alternate nostril breathing was actually a traditional yoga practice. And it's more to do with almost like Chinese, Eastern, like acupressure type of yin and yang theory. So the left, if you breathe through the left nostril, it has a cooling, calming effect on the right side. Okay. So that's like your yin. That's your way to breathe in through the left. It hits the right hemisphere of the brain. And then you exhale through the right nostril, and exactly. So in through the left, out through the right. And that's supposed to help you come back to center. And then you can reverse it. You can go in through the right, which is more of your yang, your warm, stimulating side. And that's more sympathetic. And so that's how you can control that balance of sympathetic, parasympathetic, because you need both in your life. You just don't want to be dominant in either. So the technique they use is you take your index finger and your middle finger, you put them right between your eyebrows. These are actually, that's like a meridian point. That's where the Chinese acupressure comes in. We all have different meridian points all through your body. Yeah. And 2 of them are right between the eyes. So your index finger and forefinger right between the eyes. You would take your thumb and plug off your right nostril. And then you breathe in through the left for like 3 to 4 seconds. and then just hold it for a second. Pitch the nose off. So you take your ring finger and close off the other side. So your nose is totally plugged. Hold, and then release your thumb and you exhale out the right. So it's in through the left, plug your nose, hold, out through the right. Do that like 6 times that way. In the left, out the right. That'll bring you back into the parasympathetic state. And then you can alternate, just switch in through the left, out through the right, in through the right, out through the left. And you get that back and forth of sympathetic, parasympathetic. That's what I researched on that. I've just started doing that the last few days, because we're a few days removed from the end of our challenge, but I know, like, I haven't stopped doing this breath work. I'm doing it, and I never will.
Every day.
Yeah. And
yeah.
I think
I never will either. Yeah. I mean, this is life-changing.
For sure. Did you struggle in the beginning a little bit with
I did
trying to make it perfect and just
I did.
Getting dizzy
with the dizzy. I found that, like, I was just getting over COVID too. So, like, when I would take these big breaths, I would start to cough a little bit. So I had a little bit of that going on, but it was learning to belly breathe. So really, if you listen to a lot of the thought leaders in the box breathing space, they tell you to put your hands on your belly. Yeah. And then when you breathe, feel that belly expand. So first it's belly breath, and then you still have more room, and then it's continued breath through your diaphragm, then your lungs. So you start from the bottom down, and then you exhale from the top to the bottom, right? So it's belly, diaphragm, chest. So it's like you can get a lot of breath in there. And I found I was able to really rip deep and get big breaths. And as a consequence of that, you sometimes might get a little dizzy, some stars and stuff. But to me, I kind of like that. It was kind of like, oh, this is working.
It made you feel like something's happening.
Something's happening. Yeah. And also, I think an important thing is, and there's some conflicting data on this, but mainly from what I saw, most of the data suggests the benefits is keep it all through your nose, right? In through your nose, out through your nose, because there's a lot that happens with your nose in terms of gas exchanges and things like that, which we talked about previously. So the nose thing is something that's important, but it was hard at first to get the cadence down. 20 minutes felt like for an eternity. Like, this is all part of a challenge. This is all part of what stimulates change. Is at first you're gonna be excited about it, and your commitment drives your habits, but then there comes frustration, there comes concerns. Am I doing it right? And that's where most people quit, when they're trying to change something. So with this, I think it's important to know that you may cough a little bit, you may gag, you may choke on your own breath for once or twice. You may have a hard time finding time to do it, but eventually, when you commit to it, you stick to it, it will have an impact on your life. Not only just breathing, but anything that you change in your life. I think it's important to the idea and the importance of remembering why you were doing this, and to know that you may not see results for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and that's why we do these 30-day challenges, because in 30 days, our hope is like, okay, we stuck to it, even though maybe it sucked and we didn't want to. You had a freaking baby, like this was not a convenient thing to do, but look at the results. This is
speak for
themselves. Take it with you.
Yeah. So, and don't compare yourself to anyone else. Compare yourself to yourself. So, you've had a huge improvement in your sleep. That's not necessarily going to be the story for everybody else. It might be, and it very well could be, but just because maybe you don't go from 4 hours of interrupted sleep to 8 hours of sleeping bliss doesn't mean that it's not working and having an impact.
Yes.
And just do it. Just get started. Just try it. I was getting too worked up, I think, in the beginning of trying to stick to the second. Like, I'm going to count exactly 4 seconds in and hold for exactly 4 seconds. I was almost causing myself anxiety while trying to eliminate anxiety. So
don't kill yourself over it.
Do what's comfortable. Like, if it's breathe in for as long as it's comfortable, hold for as long as it's comfortable, breathe out. It doesn't need to be so specific. Just do it, but you need to do some intentional breathing with some thought. I think a key thing you brought up is at least inhale through the nose. If you can exhale out the nose or the mouth, that's, I think, not as critical whether you exhale out the nose or not, but definitely an inhale through the nose and then exhale either way. I think yoga traditionally is both, like in the nose, out the nose, in the nose, out the nose. Everybody's got their theories and their stamp on it, but
the point is after 30 days, you'll find your groove. You'll find your pattern. You'll find what works for you. And then you can apply this new habit that you've created into your everyday life and use it as a weapon, man. I mean, a weapon's good to be able to slay stress, slay sleep deprivation, slay whatever other shit is going on in your life, because it is, like you said, right now you're using it as a tool for being coherent after lack of sleep, right? So, for me, it's I'm using it differently, but it is powerful. As we said in the first episode, like, you can go months without food, days without water, but only seconds, if not a few minutes without air. So we don't practice it, and we practice it for the last 30 days straight, and it changed our life, and it's something that we're going to keep with us and hold with us. So
and don't discount it. Like, I mean, I think people tend to think complex issues like sleep deprivation and stress can't be affected by something so simple. And sometimes that's true, but sometimes it's not. And this is one of those cases where this is absolutely effective, and everybody should be doing this on some level. So, I mean, it's useful. Very, very useful.
It's useful. And the fact that you mentioned the word, it seems so minimal and all that. And it does, because it's breath and it's automatic. But if you think about it, you die if you don't breathe for like a minute and a half. It's actually pretty important, right? We haven't framed it right? Because it's just automatic. We breathe. It's what we do, right? So, breath, it's important. It's tied to so many things like yoga and meditation, religions, Hindu, Buddhism, it's a big part of what they do. And there's a reason for it. So I'm glad we did this challenge. I look forward to our next challenge. Right now you've got a challenge on your own for these next few weeks, getting that wrapped under control. So before we launch on our next 30 days. So, but yeah, for those who are listening, thanks for listening. And strongly, Brian, I mean, would you recommend that people bring this into their lives?
Oh my God. Yes. 10 out of 10. It's a must. Just do it. Just get started. Yep.
Just do it. Yeah. I 100% agree. It will change your life. All right, Brian, thanks again. We're off
buddy,
to our next 30-day challenge. Get some sleep, buddy.
Peace.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Adapt You podcast. We hope that today's show gave you the inspiration, tools, and resources, and just motivation to become and improve and change yourself on your path and on your journey to becoming the absolute best version of yourself. Now, that said, today's episode is brought to you by Adapt Media Agency, a full-service digital marketing agency based out of Charlotte, North Carolina, servicing customers across the globe. So whether you're a small startup business or a large business looking for digital marketing needs, Adapt Media Agency is there to help you with things such as website development, videography, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube advertising, social media management, search engine optimization, pay-per-click advertising. I can go on and on and on, but anything digitally marketing related that is going to help you grow your brand and change the way that you're interacting with your companies, Adapt Media Agency is that company for you. So if you want to learn more information, you can see our links in the mentions below, or go to www.adaptmediaagency.com for more information. So thanks again for listening to the show. We hope you had an amazing experience. If you like this show and you felt it did a great job for you, if you're listening to us, over iTunes or one of the podcast channels, please leave us a review. It really helps us grow our brand and grow the show to deliver you greater guests and greater content. And if you're watching on YouTube, please pound that like button, hit the subscribe, and so that way you don't miss another episode here of the Adapt You podcast. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next one.